Please turn off all cell phones. The agenda of the Pumpkin Lake Zoning Board of Adjustments, February 27, 2024. The following is the agenda of the regular meeting of the Pumpkin Lake Board of Adjustments. This meeting is to be held in the Municipal Building, 25 Lenox Avenue, on Tuesday, February 27, 2024, beginning at 8 o'clock p.m. A written advance notice required by NJSA 10:4-1 as said has been provided of this meeting at least 48 hours in advance of today, given the time, date, and location to the extent known at the time the agenda of this meeting. Such notice stated that formal action may or may not be taken. This meeting will be video recorded and will be broadcast for later viewing for the public. The notice was posted on the bulletin board outside of the office of the municipal clerk, reserved for this and similar announcements, provided to the Suburban Trends, the newspaper designated by the council and planning board to receive such notice and filed with the borough clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the oath of office.
Okay. Start with your business, I'm okay.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Hunt?
Here.
Mr. Abate?
Here.
Ms. Curran?
Here.
Mr. Kloss?
Here.
Ms. Bernstock?
Yes.
Mr. Rowan?
Here.
Mr. Baig?
Here.
Mr. Luciani is absent. Mr. Fagula?
Here.
And Mr. Devontae is absent. Which he was supposed to be sworn in.
Yeah, but he's moving to.
Okay, the minutes from reorganization and regular minute meetings for January 23rd, 2024. Has everyone had the opportunity to read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? Can I get a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved. The second.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Ms. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Kloss?
Yes.
Ms. Bernstock?
Yes.
Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Mr. Baig?
Present.
Okay. Mr. Luciani is absent. Mr. Fagula?
Yes. Okay. Correspondence, we have an adoption of an ordinance 2-2024 in the borough of Bloomingdale. Anybody have any questions regarding that correspondence? No? Memo from Elizabeth, February 14, 2024 regarding appointments approval by the mayor and council. We had a memo from Elizabeth, February 14, 2024 for resolution 24-104, 24-105, 24-106 approval by the mayor and council. Anybody have any questions regarding that correspondence? None? Okay. So with that, we'll do oath of office.
So it was actually two, but he's not here.
There's actually three, but now two are not here.
Yes.
Okay. Stand up. Raise your right hand and repeat it. I state your name. I, Mark Field, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey. And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey. I will bear true faith and allegiance. I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And to the governments established. In this state. And in the United States. Under the authority of the people. I will faithfully. Impartially. And justly. Perform all the duties of. Office of Adjustment Board. According to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you. Congratulations. Just,
Okay, now we're gonna move on to Applications BOA 23-07, Pro Print Graphic LLC. Please come forward.
Morning. Good morning. Morning. Okay, second. Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, I appeared back in November. Harold Cook, I'm here on behalf of the applicant, and the main event is our planner, Catherine Gregory, who will testify this evening to address the D variance as well as the other variances in the application.
Please state your name, spell your last.
Catherine, I'm gonna spell my first name, Kathryn. Gregory, Gregory.
You swear or affirm the testimony you will give this evening before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Catherine, would you tell the board your educational achievements?
Educational, oh, okay. I have a Master of Architecture and a Master of Urban Planning from the University of Illinois. And if I can continue.
You may continue.
I've been a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey since the year 2000. I am the principal of Gregory Associates with the address in Fort Lee, New Jersey. I've testified throughout the state in my tenure over the last 24 years. I actually have testified here, but probably not in a long time. It could probably be about 15 years now. But I also am a municipal planner, mostly in Berkeley County. I'm the planner in Hazard Heights and Edgewater, and also the zoning board planner in Paramus and Fairlawn. And I have had the opportunity to be a planner in some other towns here and there throughout the state county as well, without at the time. I've also been testifying for the last 24 years.
And Catherine, with that being said, you testified regarding these variances, D variances, as well as all variances.
Yes, of course. Oh, that's usually, that's right. Okay,
Any questions or except for qualifications?
great.
All right, Catherine, have you had an opportunity to review the plan prepared by Mr. Weissman in this matter?
Yes.
And have you had an
You may
opportunity?
be comfortable standing, typically people sit.
If you like to sit, that's up to you guys.
Have you had an opportunity to actually view the property?
Yes, actually, I viewed the property actually on Sunday, as a matter of fact. And I have photos of it that I wanted to hand out, if I may.
We need to mark that.
So, yeah, exactly, so.
Market,
Did you do any exhibits last time?
we did other than the.
Other than
that.
Part of the
The
application.
A1.
Anyway. No, Catherine, quickly.
Just describe it on the
Oh,
record.
I'm sorry.
Today is the 27th.
I have to myself of what we split these and actually.
They're all the
There
same?
should be.
Yeah, I've actually. There we go.
I believe that there are. I made 12 copies of you.
I've looked at the property several times.
He was holding him out there.
Okay.
Catherine, before you actually go through the photos there.
Yes.
That's an exhibit you prepared,
Yes.
and it contains photos, correct? And did you take those photos?
Yes, except for the aerial that's located in the lower right hand corner.
Okay, when did you take those photos?
On Sunday.
Okay, and they were clear and accurate for trailer premises we did on Sunday.
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, so, the photo exhibit is an 11 by 17 that is entitled Existing Conditions and Surrounding Neighborhood Characteristics, 615 Greenwood Avenue, Concord, New Jersey. What you'll see is a series of photographs that are taken of the site and the surrounding area. They are all labeled, but to go through them, to the upper left is the property that is to the north, across the Post Brook, and this used to be the Passaic County Road Division property, which has since been raised. You can actually see that in the Google Earth photograph that I have in the lower right, that there was some truck parking and things in the back there, and a couple of buildings as well, which have currently been taken down, and that site is actually zoned affordable housing now. And while I'm not 100% sure, I'm assuming there's probably an affordable housing development that's going on that site. The next photograph to the upper right is the front of the central property. You can see the access point right in the center there, with the existing building that is fronting on Ringwood. The next series of photographs are taken from the middle of the site. I'm going to draw your attention actually to the right middle photograph first, because this is taken from the parking lot that is in between the front building and the rear building. And when you're in that lot, as you can see, or as you can't see, you really can't see the fact that there is a building back there. So then I'm going to swing back to that middle photograph in the middle cloud, which that is the existing building, but you have to get really close to the edge of the parking lot on the upper level, if you want to call it that, to actually see that building. And then to the left, on the middle row, what we have is a picture of the access drive, or what was also referred to by an engineer as a ramp, because it is a street, or a driveway rather, that goes down in grade, and you can see that obviously because of the retaining wall that's located right there. There is a significant change in grade. And then the next series of photographs, what I have in the lower left-hand corner is I'm actually at a residential property that's located across the railroad. I'm standing at the street, and that's the view that you see. When you refer back to the aerial, and I understand that we have a good comparison because the aerial has all of the trees, right? There is like lots of vegetation and stuff, but now we have photos without all the trees having leaves. So it's a good comparison to see that there's still a lot of vegetation that happens to be surrounding this property, even in the off season, if you want to call it that. And then also, there is one non-conforming use that is catty corner to our property that's also located in the same zone, that's auto body, which I have a picture of too. So those are the photographs that I took, and also an aerial for reference. I know that the engineer was here last time and he discussed the site itself, but obviously the site itself is a very unique site in so many ways. I'm not even sure I've seen a site that is this unique. And the reason that I say that is because number one, it's triangular in shape. Okay, I've probably seen a triangle before. But it's also bounded by a railroad and a brook and a significant change in grade. And not only is it a significant change in grade, but it's a significant change in grade even on the property itself. So there's a lot of dynamics going on in this site, and that leads to some of my testimony tonight, talking about the D1 use variance and why I think the site is particularly suited. I'll go right into that. We need a D1 use variance for the landscaping business. The applicant would like to park 6 vehicles and 3 trailers on the site. And obviously, as you can see from the photographs, there are some vehicles that are being parked there now. But with that said, for the D1 variance, we have to prove that the site is particularly suitable. And we have to distinguish it from properties in the immediate area. And I think I just did that before. There is really no other property that is like this, that's located anywhere in the immediate area of the neighborhood, due to the fact that it does have so many barriers, the post road, the railroad, the fact that it's a triangle, the fact that it has such a change in grade, the fact that there's an existing building in the rear which can be used for storage for this particular type of use. So this site is really geared towards this type of use because I can't see it really being used for any of the permitted uses, based on the fact that we do have, the shop in front. So we're kind of making efficient use of the site, which is actually one of the purposes of the useful land use law. That's where it's it talks about efficient land uses. So I also believe that, it's probably unlikely that the rear of the site will probably be utilized for anything else, because it is in enclosed zone. So there's a lot of reasons why I think it's particularly suited to just outdoor storage, if you will, or outdoor parking. So parking is contemplated in the ordinance as an accessory use to permitted uses. the landscaping business is not permitted, however, it's not specifically permitted anywhere, nor is outdoor storage. So I'm going a little bit backwards, because I think I'm talking about, the second part of the negative criteria, where we have to reconcile the additional use, this particular use from the zone. And with regard to the DVD zone, and the DVD1 zone, the idea really was for redevelopment and mixed walkable land uses. And obviously, we're not proposing that here, but I also don't see how the site would be accessible and walkable anyways. So I think that we can sort of reconcile that in that fact. We did need a couple of bulk variances. However, I know that they were discussed at the last meeting. They are for existing conditions that include things like the aisle width, that the ramp width, or that driveway that goes down. And in terms of that, obviously, it's not as if people come and go to the site. This is one out and one in. You know, once they're done from their work during the day, then they're coming back to park the vehicle. So it's not like a retail operation where people are coming and going anytime, so it's very limited. Also, planted area, parking area, buffer to the residential lot. We already have a buffer, which happens to be the railroad. So not having a buffer that's not there now, I don't think that necessarily is a detriment. The fact that we also needed a variance for a loading space, it's not really required for this use. Well, the trucks are leaving and coming back, there's no loaded materials or whatever, except that if we're probably putting stuff on the trucks themselves. And parking is not permitted in the front yard. It appears to be an existing condition, but it's not really required. But anyway, so I believe that we do promote to the purpose of the municipal land use law. I mentioned one before, purpose M, which is talks about efficient use of land. Also, I believe that we are still going to provide adequate light, air, and open space. The proposed use of this location is not going to impact any light, air, and open space on this or any adjacent properties, mostly due to grade change. And I also believe that we meet the negative criteria. I don't believe there's any substantial detriment to the public good, mostly because the public really can't see this use where it is. If you're walking by, if you're driving by, you're never going to know that there are trucks parked back there unless you are literally on the site and you are literally at the edge of that ramp that goes down, or the edge of the driveway, as evidenced by the photographs. And showed that some of the board members, or all the board members, have been out to the site to notice that. But you really can't see this use in that location. But I don't believe there's any substantial impairment to the intent purpose of the zone by the zoning ordinance. And that was for the reasons I stated before. I mean, accessory parking is permitted in urban surface parking, because it's essentially what we're doing. Except in this instance, you can define as having a landscaping business with outdoor storage. And so therefore, as I said, I think that we can reconcile the fact that had it been permitted use, the parking itself is permitted, and that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to park the vehicles overnight, and like I said before, the use is just not permitted anywhere in the ordinance specifically. So I think that the site is particularly suited. I believe that we meet both the positive and the negative criteria in granting of the variances that we propose in this application.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Gregory, or professionals?
I have one question. You say that you can't see behind the building from the road?
You can, well, no, I mean, you can see the picture. Let's use this as an example. If you are driving on either side of this building, you can see the rear, but you can't see the sunken rear. That's what I mean. You can obviously see the parking lot that's located between the front and the back building, but everything that was back there is at such a grade that it's sunken. But it's literally the roof is the same height as the grade of the front part.
But
Right.
one can see the roof of that building.
Can you see it in this picture?
I can see it in front of subject property behind, you have a very small picture, but it's right behind where the
red.
Well, yeah, right. But the fact is there's still a lot of vegetation that's going on, and that even in that location, that's blocking it. So obviously in the winter, you can see it a little bit more. In the summer, chances are you don't see this at all, when everything is blooming.
I would disagree, but that's fine. Your statement was primarily for the building in the back, and I'll accept that.
Well, no, that's what we're talking about, because the location that we're wishing to actually park these vehicles is in the rear.
I just want to be clear that that is visible from the street.
Well, visible would be, is a general term, but I would say that it's mostly not visible from the actual street.
And I disagree.
When we were talking last time, there was talk of material being stored at this site, at the landscaping, and there was concern regarding the runoff of that material. And that was going to be addressed at the next meeting. I don't think
I can have,
And you're saying there's not going to be any vehicle parking behind on the first grade of the building? There's not going to be any, in the front, there's no parking, is what you said. And then in the back of that first building, there's not going to be any truck or equipment being stored there? Did I hear that? Right behind the first building on Ringwood Avenue. Right now, I think there were some plows or something stored there the last time I drove by, which was
Yeah,
this past weekend.
those are photographs, there's some piles there.
Right, so so the question I have, there was my twofold question. There was an issue with the buffer, from the railroad. Apparently there was some sort of letter that was given to the applicant that was not available to us at the last meeting. And number two is the material or equipment parking, behind the building. Can you clarify that for me?
I don't know anything about the letter.
I got it.
I think that,
Okay, so we'll have
yeah, I
that
think that he's
addressed
gonna
with
have to
you?
come up with those items.
Okay. Then the other thing that I have is the ramp going down to the back storage area where you have the trucks. That seems very tight there. And runoff, for flooding questions. And I see there's a cone, in the middle of the driveway on the ramp going down. I don't know if that's, I can't make out what that reasoning is for the cone.
That's a pipe for the drainage from the upper lot. So.
And that was discussed at our last meeting as well. We haven't had any kind of
I haven't received
final.
anything in addition to what was discussed at the last meeting. But basically that, if you're looking at this as, let's call it 3 parking lots. You have the front parking, the middle parking, and then the lower parking. That pipe that you see in that picture is draining the middle parking area. And it's a direct connect from the corner of that middle parking lot across this ramp area in direct discharge into the brook. So there's concern there.
Yeah, I remember that at our last meeting that was brought up.
Yeah, and then, the landscape business that you're talking about, is that in any way related to one of the structures that's on the site? Are they utilizing either of the structures? Or is this just renting to this landscape company to put trucks on the site?
Well, my understanding is that, the rear building would be utilized for business, because the renting would be in the properties. But Mr. Lane can actually, probably answer that specifically, if I'm misunderstanding.
Okay, because we want to know what they're intending to store in that. Like we said, it's in the flood, the flood area, and we need to know more about this. The other thing is the adjacent property that you were mentioning for affordable housing. That's actually the senior housing project. And that's before the redevelopment board right now. and the visibility from that site to this part of the site. That's a brand new project that's gonna be going into town, that is redevelopment, that's the intent of the zone, and it's directly next door. And I think that that's overlooking that back part of it from where the senior housing would be proposed on that site, just so that you're aware.
Okay, so we're gonna need that testimony from the applicant as to what's gonna be stored in that, piece of, that adjacent building. Any other questions from members of the board?
Are there any plans for lights to, light up that driveway going down? And then, my second question has to do with that, looks like an accordion type of drain that's extended across the driveway in the picture, the first picture of the second row.
Yeah, that's actually what Mr. O'Brien was just mentioning.
Okay, but is that going to go underground?
I don't know that, I'm not the engineer, so I think that would be an issue.
Catherine, primarily for the usage of the property, right?
Right, not the
Just
drain.
not all about the intricate issues.
So for that pipe from the engineering perspective, that was discussed last meeting, and we have not received anything.
Mr. Weiss was just away, otherwise I would have here tonight, but I didn't want to ask to carry this again.
No, I understand, but I would ask if this board looks favorable to this application, they have some homework to do with the drainage.
Right.
So they would have to work with us to iron that out.
And the applicant would certainly do that.
And then I have one more question, and that is, about a month ago, we had some flooding in our town. And I was wondering how your property made out, because there's a corner of your property that's rather low. I see him shaking
I can
his
have
head.
him, I'm gonna have him testify this evening.
Anytime you want me up there, I'm ready to go.
Okay. I
And
thought
you're
it
done with
was,
Catherine, we'll pull you up.
One other point with the parking, when, I think we've been out to the site, and you even showed in one of the pictures, Catherine, the one that's in the middle on the left-hand side.
Yes.
Those vehicles that are at that site right now are not parking in parking spaces, they're parking all over the place down there. How will that be controlled at night? You're showing parking spaces, but then it looks like there's more vehicles than parking.
Well, that's something that, I think Mr. Lane can answer. However, just, functionally, because it is literally just storage overnight, it's not, again, in and out. I mean, you can tandem spaces in residential projects. So if they were to, let's just say, use like the first 3 for trailers, then a car, and then, a truck, and have trucks in front of it, it is sequestered in the back there, that, and again, it's only one in, one out, so that would be controlled, even if that were the case.
Okay, but that's.
It's not like a regular parking lot where people are coming to use business, or even an office. This is literally just a landscaping business that has their trucks, and so the trucks go out, from the building, and they come back again. So that would all be, worked out in terms of that. It's not an in and out situation.
Yeah, that's-
But, he'll talk to
And I think that our concern would be that, we know that this development is going in next door, and we don't want it to look like a junkyard right next to it, in the evenings, with just vehicles strewn all over the place. So we have to have control over that, and that's, as you know, that's the reason for having parking spaces, that's the reason for having circulation plans, that's the reason for, the regulations being written the way that they are. So I think that we need to just be cognizant of that, and that's something that Sal Foley, our construction official, has brought up.
Does anybody else have any questions for the testimony that was given? I will now open it up to the public to question the applicant and the testimony that was given.
I can start on 41 West Hills. So, just so I understand, I know it's the last couple companies, they're in and out, but like, for example, right now, there's plows stored on the site, on the backside of that. Would they stay there in the off-season, or then they can move somewhere else and move them? And then there is a business running out in front of that building, I'm assuming, right? Do they have dedicated parking for the business? How is this working out, going back to what that was asking? Is it dedicated parking only for the business and then landscaping, or is it just first come, first serve? Or is it, you got plows here, you got park over here today, plows are gone, so they can park over there? I mean, is there a plan set in place somehow?
I think that the endless support is better. I'm not trying to pass.
No, that's fine.
But, yeah, he's been operating on the site, if you will, so he can explain how that is.
And just to go back to what our planner was mentioning, just so the board understands, the senior housing and vet housing that's being built, in front of that project from the Ringwood side, it's gonna be mostly green area, and the building is set back towards the recycling center a little bit. So they are trying to make it like a green space in front, with an entrance and an exit out the driveway. So the building is not gonna be right up on the Ringwood Avenue, there's gonna be some back, but it's gonna be cleaned up much better than it is now.
Is there anybody else that would like to question testimony from the public? See none, so I'll close that session. Thank you.
Dan, did you come up? Mr. Lane testified back in November. You want to re-swear him?
He remains warranted. Still got a self-proof.
All right, Dan,
Good evening.
just to refresh the board, you operate out of that site, correct?
Correct.
All right, and how long have you been operating out of that site?
About 5-6 years.
Do you use any of the buildings located on the site?
Just on the lower level.
And then what do you do in that lower building?
It's just overstock or whatever we use.
So what do you use?
Anything from landscaping to snow removal equipment and materials.
And what type of materials?
Could be grass seed, topsoil, mulch bags, things like that, all inside. And it's mostly only if we have overstock. We use it, got 10 bags left over, something, put it in there. Next week, another job comes up, out the door for us. So nothing's really sitting in there, that long as far as materials.
As far as trying to draw a distinction, you're actually operating a business, or you maintain an office in that building. You have you don't have an office, where do you conduct your business from as far as?
From my home.
All right, now, the board had some questions as to allocation of parking spaces. Do you want to address that?
Okay. We do not use any of the upper parking lot that Gilby's Apparel has. We have nothing to do with the upper lot. We park all our equipment at the bottom. 2 of the snow plows that are at the top are actually Pat's. So we just continue the line, and we park 5 or 6 plows behind that. Off season, he had no problem with that, so that's it. There's no vehicles, it's just 5 of my own plows behind 2 of his own plows. So that's it. So even if I took my 5 plows out, he's gonna keep his 2 plows there, it's his property. So, that's it as far as the upper parking lot. Parking, our stuff at the bottom is just parked where we have, we park as many trucks as we can against the back wall of the railroad. And then anything that's larger or overstock, we just back down and put kitty corner. It's nowhere near the ramp. It's away from the ramp or a junction to the front of the building. So, if you look down the ramp, you really can't see any of the vehicles. You might be able to see the top of the building, but you really can't see the building trucks.
Well, Gilby's or Pat, do you use any of the space, the lower parking for their vehicles or for the customers? Or?
He has his own parking, there's got to be at least 10 parking. There's nothing at the top.
So your use will be limited to the lower parking?
Correct.
This Burnstock had a question about a month ago, starting in town. What, if any, flooding occurred?
We have never gotten any at all. I took 2 pictures of the last 2 storms that we had. Couldn't find the one, but I found 2 from the storm in December. We are still 3 feet down at that point from the grade.
Good.
Okay, there is a little berm there that was there from the beginning. It's a
Mhm.
little bit of a blacktop macadam berm there. You might have seen it. It doesn't come anywhere near that. Irene came, we didn't get anything then, and we even have taken steps to take stuff out of there. You never know. You know what I'm saying? You just never know. So even our trucks have left there and gone to another place temporarily for a day or two until water goes down to its normal, which is really only like 2 feet deep. So
Yeah.
on a normal basis there, so,
Well, that's good.
yeah. It's always been good.
The board mentioned a letter from the railroad.
Yeah.
Can you testify
Right.
regarding a letter from the railroad?
There was, I guess, a lot of dumping going on there way before we were there. And the railroad was concerned that that stuff was eventually gonna go into the bank of the water or whatever. There's nothing in the water itself, but we cleaned it all up, spent a lot of money, got rid of a lot of recycled materials, brought it to other parts of, where they recycle it to get it out of there to satisfy them. They just didn't want the stuff anywhere near their crushed stone on the berm of the railroad tracks, and they didn't want anything to fall into the bridge. But what was there was there way before I was even there, so we got rid of it, even had pictures of all that too. So, just so that I could send them to him, and he was satisfied with what we did, and unfortunately, we spent a lot of money doing that too, so.
If the board were to look favorably upon this application tonight, would you agree as a condition of the application that you're limited, your parking would be limited to the longer parking lot in the rear?
Oh, yeah, that's all we use.
And, one of the engineer had mentioned that there is a pipe, coming from the roadway, and it appears to be draining a lot to it. Can you testify what that is?
The pipe was always there, it comes through the retaining wall. All we did was extend the pipe there so that we didn't get mud and everything at the bottom. That's all it is. It just discharges the water from the upper lot, which if we took the pipe off the way it was existing automatically, it's still gonna drain wherever it wants. That's just the way it was set up. We're just trying to keep it a little cleaner for our own use, so that we don't go driving out with mud and keeping the upper parking lot clean as we drive out, so.
The board would look favorably upon this application. Would you agree as a condition of the approval that this draining would be addressed with Mr. Weissman and the municipal engineer?
To do what?
To whatever they thought necessary with that pipe.
I mean, if we needed to take the pipe off, the water would just run free.
That's all they may envision doing more than that. Would you agree to allow Mr. Weissman and the board engineer?
Yeah, I guess if we really needed to, it's gonna come down to a lot of work. I think that's really necessary, because the water's gonna roll that way anyway.
But you would agree to,
Sure. I have the equipment to do it. Trying to think of this. There's another question about where you let them park, trucks were parked. How many trucks are?
Can you park them at night in the spaces that would be allocated?
They normally are. They are parked that way, and then we back down the hill, usually with a trailer, and that kind of flows down to the end. And then there's usually 1 or 2 trucks that are parked right to the hill. So there's like 5 or 6 spots, I think, from the,
So there's 4 spots.
there's 4 spots against the, railroad.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 4 spots there, there's 3 trailers and 1 truck, and 1 larger truck that would park there. And then there's the smaller trucks. There's a few pickup trucks and
Yeah.
2 small mason dump landscapes.
But that's more than the spaces, you've got 4 spaces. And
There's
you've
4
got about 7 trucks, then you're saying?
Well, the application is to park 6 trucks and 3 trailers, that's what it's for. We park everything we can park in the parking
But that's
place.
not depicted on your plan. Your plan's showing 4 spaces. What you're saying right now is contradictory to what's shown. So the additional 3 or 4 vehicles that you're going to park, we need to see that on the plan. So your engineer should be putting that on the plan. In addition to
It
that,
looks like there's 5 spots there.
he's marked it out as
And what
4.
he's doing is
That's
park.
4.
We can fit 5 in there though.
yeah.
They have to be real parking spots, that's the whole thing.
it's gravel. You know, making up a parking place just to park each truck next to each other, you know, is really what it would be. It's forming its own parking place, so.
Yeah,
That's
it's-
not,
The other item with this is all that parking in the building, it's all in the floodway. So there's permitting involved with that. So whatever you're doing down there, you need permits for it through either soil conservation, possible DEP, you're right there with the brook, so you're dealing with vehicles that are in the floodway. You just testified that you had, fertilizer and landscaping material that's in the floodway. If this ever does flood out, all that stuff's being washed downstream. I'm not,
If it was in there, it would be in the trailer, I wouldn't pull the trailer out. It's not being stored there.
so, all right, so it's in the building's still in the floodway. It will flood out. According to the maps, it'll flood out. I know you're testifying that it never flooded there or whatever. That's really up to your engineer to testify that it's going to or not going to.
That's what it's doing.
That's what the application's for.
I don't understand everything, so with this.
Yeah, so there's engineering aspects with stormwater permitting that are necessary, that, you know, the town has exposure on their end, because we have to, as a town, we have to abide by certain criteria for stormwater management rules that the state puts on the town. We then put it on each individual applicant, resident, developer, to abide by those rules. This particular area on the lower portion, because it's in the floodway, there's concerns there. So that's where your engineer should come up with, how is that going to be addressed? So you have no concerns with it, it meets the regulations, the town has no exposure from it. So there's items there that should be addressed. And it was in our review letters prior, we haven't received anything about it. As far as the pipe goes on the middle parking lot, if you, now I don't know if that's you that owns it, or the other building owner that owns it. Somebody has to deal with it.
He's a tenant.
Right, so whoever,
He will deal with it. He'll deal with it.
right, so here's what dealing with it means, okay? So you have it on that middle parking lot area. From that middle parking lot area, it's now going through a corrugated plastic pipe and then sheet flowing out into the brook. If this thing gets buried and put into a manhole and then tied out into the brook with proper piping and everything, you're now creating an outfall into the brook, which requires permitting through DEP, because you created a new outfall. By allowing it to continue as it is, it's an illegal discharge because it wasn't originally designed to do that. So someone, I don't know if that's you or the applicant I'm sorry, not the applicant, the owner of the entire property, someone's responsible to get that water discharged properly from that middle parking lot into the brook without causing any potential downstream erosion to the side slopes going into the brook, possible wall failure right there, because you have about 6-foot drop from that wall down your ramp. So there's concerns there where if that wall has too much water pressure behind it, it could fail. So someone's got to look at that. I don't know if that's your engineer or the other. Yeah, so.
This is all.
This was all. One minute, please let him talk, or got tape recorded and you have to make sense of it,
Oh, I
so
thought
please.
Yeah.
No, it's not a conversation.
No,
Please, let him
so,
talk.
I'll let you know. So I don't know if that's your position to take, or if it's the landowner or the building owner of the upper lot who uses that middle lot, but someone's got to address something. And I don't know if that gets answered tonight or not, but something's got to be done there. As far as the parking on the front, that's very clearly not allowed on the county, from the county. So that has nothing to do with your application per se, but it's all tied together, because it's one big line. So there's some concerns through it. Yeah,
Now you're up.
yeah, I'm good, I'm good.
Yeah, this was all there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all we did was put a pipe, I could take the pipe off, and it's just the way it was when we started 5 or 6 years ago, you know? I mean, that's just the way it was. This was a building, this was an operating restaurant going back years and years ago, so, up at the top.
So when you came in 5, 6 years ago, how did that middle parking lot function drainage-wise?
It didn't drain.
It just held water?
Yeah. So we cleaned it out, we staked it out,
Okay.
put the pipe in so that he would get a proper drain at the top. We actually solved the problem.
Right.
Because now that retaining wall wasn't holding any pressure anymore, it was all released, and it just clearly runs. And the only reason we did that was so that we wouldn't have to deal with the water at the bottom of the hill.
So you're not getting flooded out from the middle parking lot?
That's it, if we took the pipe off, it would just be washing down the hill, down the ramp, that's all, you know,
So,
Either way, it was.
so by looking at it from that perspective, if it's just washing out, going down in the bottom of the parking lot, where you guys are right now, that's the floodway. That's where it's supposed to go. So, by you putting the pipe in, you're changing the water flow direction where it should be going. It's going to flood down there. That's why it's in the floodway. So, there's concerns there, and your engineer or the property owner's engineer, someone's got to look at this to rectify it. Because although I understand what you're doing, you're trying to make the bottom good so that you can park down there. That might not be the solution. You might not be able to park down there. You might not be able to have a building down there because it's in the floodway. That's where your engineer, the property owner's engineer, puts their heads together and comes up with something.
At this point, it's on him, because he's making the application.
Well, for this application,
So, let me suggest this. I would have had Mr. Weissman here, anyway. Between now and the next meeting, I'll have Mr. Weissman get in touch with you, go over these issues, and, present a solution or propose solution.
That's fine. So he can reach out to me at any time. These comments were in the prior engineering report.
He's not here, so.
I know, but he hasn't addressed that
I understand.
at all,
I understand.
with not even a revised plan, or a memo, or a point-by-point memo on, yes, we agree, or we're not going to do this, or we are going to do this. He's been non-responsive. So if you can get him to revise the plans, come up with a solution, give me a point-by-point, even call my office on what you're proposing to do or not do, that would be appreciated.
I'm gonna start with this, make him pull your office, he's back on Thursday.
That's perfect.
I'll make him pull your office first, because I don't want him to do things that you may or may not want, and then we can address it point by point.
That's fine, and I will point him directly to our review letter.
And I appreciate that.
No problem.
Fair enough.
Okay, yeah, I agree, I think that's something that should be done. So we'll move this to the next meeting. Is that- Yeah, now, before you go, in the minutes from last, conversations we had, there was a letter that I had requested from the railroad company, but it's in the minutes that it was requested.
They were okay.
They were okay with this.
That was the question.
So that needs,
Representation that was.
that needs to happen.
I think the building owner has his contact, I can get that from him.
Someone needs to provide that. But most importantly, you need to have that gentleman, your engineer, get a hold of our engineer. Go ahead.
In addition to the flooding concerns, there's also environmental issues because you are right next to a brook. And so I would ask the engineer to address and be responsible in answering the questions about everything you're storing there. I mean, you say that you're only, let me ask the question, are you storing any fertilizers or pesticides?
Only in the trailers, if it's left over from that day, which would go back out the next day.
Okay. But we'd also would have drainage, as far as your vehicles, I mean, they're gonna be leaking transmission fluids and oils and, yeah, well, let the engineer answer that as well, that whether or not these vehicles are gonna be permitted to be this close to a brook, okay, that is fresh water and leading to, I don't know exactly where.
I'm thinking based on our engineer's stipulation that this is in the floodplain, that may not be suitable for that type of parking, but that's something that the engineers.
Yes,
can
that should be
together and
really
work that out.
investigated first. The other question I have, if you don't mind, you mentioned that you've only been there 5 or 6 years, you say? But you said that in Hurricane Irene, you were there? You said that Hurricane Irene, it didn't even...
No, the building owners told me that when he bought the building, he asked the previous owner if he got any flooding from any of the
All right, but
hurricanes.
I'm sorry, but your statement was that you had seen it was only 3 feet within, even in Hurricane Irene.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And I just don't know which date was which hurricane or which storm that we've had a few here that have caused some issues locally. I don't know which one exactly was which, but the one in December and the one that we got recently, I have pictures on my phone right here, I can show them after the meeting if you want, whatever. That it's still 3 feet lower than the berm that's on the,
What I would do, public record, make some photographs,
Okay.
print them out, make it a part of the exhibit in the application, this way we have no issue.
Okay.
Okay?
I have a quick question for me.
Yes.
Yeah, the building itself, you're saying that the fertilizer is stored in the trailer, the trailers, what goes in the building?
I never said fertilizer at all.
Or just in general.
Fertilizer, and then 2 other people brought up fertilizer. I said mulch, grass seed, and,
Soil.
right.
My question was
In
just-
bags.
Yeah, those go in the building, not in trailers.
They're in the trailers. Only if it's overstock and it's in.
Right, I just don't understand what goes in the building. Is it separate stuff going in the building itself, or is
Only
it
if
trailer?
it's overstock. You know, like, we take it out for that day, move it, and then 2 days I need it again, it goes back in the truck, and it's gone again. It's not a storage facility.
Right.
It's just like a station, let's put it that way.
Could we see it?
Sorry.
Could we see inside of it?
Well,
Yeah.
what I would suggest,
Keating comes and does fire inspection every year. Yeah, he sees it, we pay the bill, everything passes every year.
So you don't keep any inventory?
Well, we only buy what we use, so we're trying not to store stuff, you know, so, you know, if it's something that's left over, most of our stuff is seasonal, so it just keeps on moving, you know, I mean, it's a few bags here left over from one job, 3 days later, we're doing the same job, we move it and put it in the other job again. It would be the same thing if you bought fertilizer or seed for your house, you're gonna put it back down again in 2 or 3 months, same.
And let me ask a question about the trailer. Do you have racks in the trailer so that you can get this stuff up
Sure.
off the floor?
Yeah, there's racks and there's rails that you hang all the equipment on. I mean, that's already 1.5 feet above grade level, so higher than the bank plus the trailer, you're pretty far off the ground.
okay, so we're gonna carry this to the next meeting.
And we'll have
And-
an engineer.
And please have the engineer get a hold of our engineer, address all the issues that have been brought up previously and tonight, so that we can, get all the information that we need in order to move on this, application.
Copy of the minutes so I can give them to the engineer for fashion.
I'll email it to you.
Yeah, you got
I can sign it, yeah.
You can have these if you want.
Do you want this copy?
And the only other thing, if I could just say one thing, I don't rent this property. It's a barn. I plow his lot, and I clean his shrubbery, blow his parking lot, you know? That's
Right,
it.
right.
We've been friends for,
Legally, you rent the property.
no, we don't.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry, we don't.
I got just one question. You're a landscaping business, right?
Correct.
What is your, are you just cut grass, or you build retaining walls, or what kind of Yeah, I mean, we have done some, but mostly we're just weekly landscaping. Weekly, so say you're building a patio, you got extra brick, what do you do with that brick? There are some down there that are left over, and, it was addressed at the last meeting that, oh, this could float down the river or whatever, we took care of all that. Cinder block is not going anywhere, so that's all the only thing. I think the part that's being missed, and I understand what you're saying, it's been used that way, you can't see it, I think that makes perfect sense. The issue is the state regulations with water, when it comes to what you can put on the edge of the water. Sure, That's out of our ground. Yeah. And if the state comes in after this board says yes to something, and says, who okayed this, we get in trouble. It's not you guys get in trouble. Sure. We get in trouble, we get in. So that's why they're being very cautious about how you sit it. I get it, and I would only be doing what you allow, so.
Okay, so we're gonna carry this to the next meeting.
Thank you, we'll see you next month.
See you next month.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Carm, when's the next meeting? I'm sorry.
It is March 28th,
Thank you.
next meeting.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. I'll get that over to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I've
got some.
Okay, we are now gonna move on to resolution BOA 23-06.
March 26th, sorry.
Next meeting.
You can read the
Back on
document.
next meeting?
Yeah.
March 26th.
March 26th.
Sorry, I can't.
It's okay.
My bad.
Okay, resolution BOA 23.
Got it, thank you. Oh, good.
I'm sorry. I couldn't see. Sorry.
We're good?
The old man had to tell me.
Okay, resolution BOA 23-06, Michelle Bertiz, pretty in pink. Everyone had an opportunity to read the resolution. Can I get a motion to accept that resolution?
So moved. Second.
Can I please have a roll call?
Oh, hold on. See ya. Rowan and Curran?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Bate?
Yes.
Ms. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Kloss?
Yes.
Mrs. Bernstock?
Yes.
Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Mr. Baig?
Present.
And Mr. Pagula?
Yes.
Okay, new unfinished business. We're gonna discuss open space at this point, or does that go into public discussion? We can do it now, right? Okay, so, Jared, has provided a report on the, open space. The Willow Field, they're moving 2 fields and making a new one. Estimated cost is gonna be between $600 and $1 million. Baseball doesn't want to move to Riverdale, no concession stand. $250,000 in engineering costs for Willow. There is $400,000 for Phase 1 Hirschfield, already bonded through grants. $436,000 in open space. The dog park will have sponsor signs to fund improvements. And that's his report. I guess I'll forward that to you for your records. I will now open it up to public discussion. Is there anybody from the public that would like to have a conversation with us? The answer is no, so we'll close that session. I get a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Too quick.
Too quick.
So,